Hello, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today I'm bringing you some YA book recommendations. Before we jump into it, if you wouldn't mind tapping the subscribe button for me, I put out new videos 2 to 3 times a week. It includes book recommendations, book reviews, retro reviews, book tags. I love all the bookish things. I do book hauls, all the things. So if those are interesting to you, go ahead and give me a subscribe, give me a big thumbs up, and to let me know you like my content. It really encourages growth on my channel, and that's something that I'm really trying to do in this period of the channel so that I can decide kind of where we're going with everything and just what kind of channel that I want to be. So subscribing lets me know that you like what's going on. So anyway, enough of that. Let's move that aside. Let's get into the book recs here. I've decided that I'm going to do a series, a 3 to 4 part series, just recommending different genres of books because I feel like I get stuck in a rut, and it was time to look at my library and the kind of books I have and see, which ones in each genre. See which books in each genre I want to recommend to people. And I've talked about it lately on this channel that I'm not a huge fan of contemporary. And I thought about it and I was like, when I was in high school, that was my favorite thing to read because it felt so real to me. Like it was other teenagers. And even though it was fake because it was a book, they were going through things that I was going through. It was really interesting to me. And then as I've grown up, I'm like, yeah, that's not really realistic. I'd rather just go ahead and read something that's fantastical instead of something that's fake life. But whatever, there are good books in every genre. And I realized that I did have quite a few contemporaries that have piled up, especially lately. I've read a lot of really good ones. And I just wanted to pass those on because I know there are other people like me who contemporary isn't their favorite, and getting some book recs for that might be helpful. So these are in no particular order, but I have 5 for you. So here we go. The first one is A Quiet Kind of Thunder by Sarah Bernard. This book was so adorable. The romance was cute. The social anxiety issues are real. Like, this is things that people go through when they're in high school, when they're an adult. Your problems do not go away when you magically hit 18 or whatever. Like, you still have issues. This book is about a girl named Steffi, and she has selective mutism, which means like she is comfortable talking around her best friend and her family, but when she's in group settings or at school, she can't talk. She meets this new boy, Reese, who comes to her school, and he's deaf. And so Steffi has a little bit of sign language because at one point her parents learned that with her to see if that would help her communicate. And her and Reese start up a friendship and eventually a romance. And it was just really cute. It walks through like some instances of like why we have anxiety and like what can cause it, and just ways to walk through it. It didn't go deeply into the psychological aspects of that. This wasn't like preaching to you about how you need to get better or what, but it was just that we all come with our own damage, and it's about finding someone who can see your damage and accept you for it, and then you can have a cute little romance. So there's that one. Next up is Starry Eyes. I have a full review for this one as well, which of course I'll link up above, as we do. But this was an adorable summer read for me. I've said multiple times, like, I didn't plan to read this book, but I was desperate for a book, and this was the only one at Target I hadn't read yet. His name is Lennon, her name is Zori, and they both coincidentally end up on a camping trip with mutual friends, and even more coincidentally, they end up stranded in the woods alone together, and they need to talk about why they aren't friends anymore and address the still lingering sexual chemistry between the two of them. And this was not like super steamy, but it was great, and it had nature and camping and thunderstorms and bears, and it was great. So I won't talk on too much of this because again, I had a review of it, but it was so good. And it was just really fun. And it was a realistic reason for why people might not talk without it being just a stupid miscommunication. Cause it's a miscommunication, but it's not stupid. Like, it is a legit miscommunication, if that makes sense. So check out Starry Eyes by Jenn Bennett. And I love her because she spells her name the same way I do. Next up, I want to hold up The Duff. Yes, I'm sorry, I have the movie cover. It's by Cody Keplinger, and I'm sorry that it's a movie cover, guys. I didn't know better when I picked it up. I picked it up because the movie was going to be coming out and this was the copy they had at Target. I regret to inform you that the book and the movie share nothing alike except the name. The main character isn't even act the same, but I really enjoyed the book, so pardon the book cover. The Duff stands for Designated Ugly Fat Friend, and it's about Bianca, and she gets partnered with the worst guy in school who she just thinks is a jock and a jerk, and they get paired together on an assignment and they have this crazy sexual chemistry together, and so they start in on this like enemies with benefits relationship. Again, if you've seen the movie, you have no idea what I'm talking about, because in the movie it turned into Wesley trying to make Bianca popular, and it was a joke. Bianca didn't care about being popular. That was the whole point. So it was her trying to outcool her best friends in the movie, and I just was not for it. But we're not talking about the movie, we're talking about the book, which was adorable, and it, showed stuff that like, just because like the one part they held on to in the movie was that everybody feels like somebody's ugly best friend, which is true. Like nobody feels, well, okay, I lied. Some people feel like they're the pretty friend, but nobody feels like they're the most beautiful person in the room. Like somebody always feels the ugliest, and it just really deals with like, that's crap and we should stop judging each other, as well as Bianca and Wesley. Like their relationship is so cool. It's so cool in here. And so if you like the movie, forget about it and then read this, because it was so much fun. And again, I need to get a copy that doesn't have the movie characters on the front, because it makes it seem that I like that. I own like 4 movie to book adaptation books, and all of them I'm like, no. But this was a good book. Next up, I have Forgotten by Kat Patrick. Yeah, this is an old library copy. I don't care. I loved this book when I first read it, and so I like ordered it off of eBay and I got an old library copy, but whatever. This book is about London, and every night when she goes to sleep at about 2 in the morning, she loses her memory from the day before. I know, this is weird. It's one with a twist in it, that's for sure. And so, but she can remember what like it's weird. This is hard to explain. But like she knows what's going to happen in the future. So it's weird. Like she forgets her past, but she knows the future. So like her friend is going to have an affair with a teacher and people are going to find out. And she knows this, but she can't warn her friend because the future still needs to happen the way it's supposed to happen. So every day she writes down everything that happened that day, puts it on a notebook, and then goes to sleep, and she forgets what happened. So she wakes up and she reads everything in her notebook and knows what happened the day before and knows what's going to happen the day after. I know, it sounds super confusing, but what makes it a super cool twist is that one day she runs into someone who knows who she is and she doesn't know who they are. But it turns out that it's someone that she let herself forget. She stopped writing about them in her book because she wanted to forget them. But he comes back into her life and he wants to be in her life. So he just pretends that he never knew her and then lets her meet him again and fall in love with him again. So it's really interesting. This book, I've never heard anyone talk about it, but I read it back when I was maybe like 17, and it stuck with me enough that I like searched it out and found it. So I really suggest this. You might have to, get it from your library or else look it up and rent it on Kindle, but whatever, it's definitely worth it. It's a really quick read, and it has a really cool mystery involved as well as to why she keeps forgetting. So it's really cute, and this is Forgotten by Kat Patrick. I can't talk about contemporary books without mentioning my favorite YA contemporary author, and that is Sarah Dessen. And this is my favorite of her books. It's held up for me. The first time I read it was in 9th grade, and it made me cry, and it moved me so much. This deals with what we would call social justice issues, but back when I read it, it was just an amazing story of this girl who her family is a mess and kind of falling apart. Her sister is bulimic and she's been a model, and she's back living with her family because she almost died from not eating. And this girl, Annabelle, she has had a falling out with her best friend, and she doesn't know how it happened, really. Like, it wasn't her fault, but her friend has started calling her names and isn't treating her well. And or we don't know why. Annabelle knows why, obviously. And Annabelle ends up meeting this guy named Owen who runs a late night radio show, and they just really start to share their secrets with each other. He used to have anger management issues, still has them, and she has just turned into a totally different person than she was a year ago, and nobody really knows why. And also nobody's really paying attention because of the things that are happening with her sister. Annabelle seems to be fine, so nobody's paying attention to her. And Just Listen has so many meanings to me. This book, it's a favorite of mine, but really I am putting forward Sarah Dessen as a whole. She has these great YA stories that all have, they deal with child homelessness, they deal with abusive relationships in teenagers, they deal with death of a parent, they deal with a parent getting remarried. Each of her books deals with a separate issue in a really nice way, I find. So she's just definitely worth your time as a YA. She's been around for a while, and I'm always hungry for her books, and she always is threatening to be done writing, and I'm just like, please no, I want to keep reading yours. You're the one contemporary author that I just can't get enough of. So there you go, friends. Here's my 5 contemporary recommendations for you. These books all meant something to me when I read them, and I had a great time reading them. And it just reminds me not to close myself off from contemporary books, because they can be really good sometimes. And sometimes you find a winner that does resonate with you, and it can resonate with you more than a fantasy can, because it's real life. So fantasies can teach you things too, but I find when I do find a contemporary that is a gut punch, it's usually a gut punch because, well, I've seen that in real life, or I've experienced something like that, or I've lived through this. So yeah, those are my recommendations. Again, I make new videos 2 to 3 times a week, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications so you know when I upload. Thanks for stopping by. The Book Refuge is a safe place to talk about books and be friends together. Have a wonderful day. Bye.